London fog pressed against the glass, turning the South Bank into a blur of muted charcoal and slate. Oliver moved through the mist, his fingers tight around the cold metal of his camera. He did not walk through the city. He framed it. He captured empty benches, rain-slicked cobblestones, and the stillness of shadows. He was a spectator, documenting a life he never touched. Inside the Tate Modern, the air was filtered and unnervingly quiet. Oliver stood before a stark white canvas, his eye pressed to the viewfinder, carefully adjusting the aperture to catch the exact lack of light. Then, the frame shifted. A streak of saffron and indigo cut through the gallery. A sudden, violent injection of color against the pale walls. Maya stopped inches from his lens, tilting her head at the canvas with a sharp, questioning frown. She tapped the frame, the sound echoing. "This feels incomplete," she said. "In Delhi, we call it boring." The monochromatic world Oliver had built was no longer enough. The gallery doors swung open, and the cool London air hit them like a physical force. They walked, but the silence between them was gone, replaced by the rhythmic slap of their footsteps against the pavement. In a small cafe, steam curled from their cups, blurring the line between them. Maya spoke of Delhi, the honking rickshaws, the scent of crushed spices, the relentless, grinding noise of a city that never stopped breathing. Oliver listened, his camera resting on the table, forgotten. The lens cap stayed on. Over the next few weeks, the city stopped being a frame and became a collision. Maya pulled him into a sudden downpour, spinning in the center of the street until the water soaked through their layers. Oliver stood frozen for a second, then dropped his bag into the gutter and joined her, his boots splashing in the dark puddles. She dragged him to underground clubs where the bass vibrated in his chest, forcing him to move, to sweat, to exist outside the viewfinder. He ate street food that burned his tongue, the heat sharp and real. He was no longer documenting the city. He was part of its pulse. The laughter died on a bench overlooking the Thames. The river moved in the dark, a constant, indifferent current. Oliver looked at his hands, the skin pale against the gray wood of the bench. "You are too different," he said, the words heavy and final. Maya leaned against his shoulder, her weight grounding him, but the distance between them felt like a widening canyon. "That is why it works," she whispered. But the reality of visas and departures hung in the air, a countdown he could not stop. A month later, the Heathrow terminal hummed, with the sound of thousands of people moving toward exits. Maya stood by the gate, her grip tight on the handle of her suitcase. The plastic wheels clicked against the polished floor. "I have to go back," she said. She turned and walked through the gate. The automatic doors slid shut with a final, metallic hiss. Oliver stood still as the terminal noise blurred into a dull, rhythmic thrum that meant nothing. He walked back to his apartment, but the space felt wrong. London had become a tomb, and he was the only thing left inside it. He looked at the camera, then at a map of Delhi. The lens was cold, the map was paper, but the decision was absolute. He packed a single bag and left. The transition was violent. One moment he was in the quiet of his room. The next, Delhi hit him like a physical blow. A wall of heat pressed against his skin, heavy with the scent of incense and burning oil. The sound was a cacophony, a roar of engines, shouting vendors, and the relentless, rhythmic clatter of a city in motion. He navigated the crowded markets, his boots kicking up dust. Every face was a blur, every movement a distraction. He pushed through the press of bodies, his eyes scanning every stall, every flash of color, every silhouette that moved against the tide of the crowd. The noise vibrated in his teeth. He felt the sweat drip down his back, the air thick and hard to breathe. He stopped at a spice stall, his chest heaving, his eyes darting across the sea of strangers. He turned, his gaze sweeping the narrow alleyway, and then he saw it. A flash of familiar color near a stall draped in heavy fabrics. He froze. The crowd surged around him, but he did not move. He pushed forward, his hand reaching out, and tapped her shoulder. She turned, her eyes widening in disbelief. "You came?" she asked. The roar of the market pressed in, but it no longer felt like an intrusion. Oliver looked at the vibrant, chaotic world around them, the dust motes dancing in the shafts of harsh light, and smiled. "I needed more color," he said. The camera hung forgotten at his side, its lens caps still on. He did not reach for it. He did not frame the scene. He simply stood there, breathing the heavy, spice-laden air, feeling the pulse of the street against his own. Maya reached out, her fingers brushing his arm, and the distance that had defined his life for years dissolved. They turned together and walked into the thick of the crowd. They did not need the city to be quiet anymore. They only needed the choice they had made to stay, moving forward into the heat, side by side.